One of the things that most people don't realize about Mozart, but which his friends and family were well familiar with, was the fact that he had a tendency to procrastinate. This might surprise us, but apparently it was something that was very well known to people around him, and when he was still living at home, his father, Leopold, would help keep him on track so that he didn't miss his deadlines. But when he was out on his own as a professional, he would sometimes get tripped up. And the opera overtures are actually an excellent example of this tendency in him, because he would write the arias and recitatives, he would write the ensembles, rehearsals would begin, the first performance would be looming, and he would still not have written the overture. The overture tended to be the last thing that he wrote. Mozart's first biographer, Franz Xaver Němeček, who was Czech himself and had been in Prague and was a witness to a lot of the things that went on there when Don Giovanni was being produced. He tells this story about how Mozart got his friends and his colleagues into something of a frenzy of anxiety because he'd finished the opera, but he hadn't done the overture, and it got to be midnight of the day before the first performance before Mozart finally sat down and put the overture on paper. And it really seems as though he was trying to torture them a little bit. And what ended up happening, of course, was the copyists had to madly get parts of it copied and get them to the orchestra, and the orchestra was not able to rehearse it. They had to do it on site. The thing that this illustrates is that Mozart, of course, knew exactly what he wanted to do with that part. He had already written that wonderful, shocking moment in the finale where Don Giovanni goes to the door and is confronted with his doom in the figure of the Commendatore. He knew that that was the music he wanted to use at the beginning of the overture all along. And so it was no big deal to him to sit down the night before and write it out. The problem, of course, was for his poor colleagues, long-suffering. Obviously, they understood this about him, and because they loved him and loved his music, they were willing to put up with it. And Mozart did congratulate them. He said, "Bravo, bravo, excellent sight reading, even if you did drop a few of the notes under the desk."